Good morning, everyone. صباحكم الله بالخير. شلونكم؟ عساكم بخير. And welcome to another session of Minds at Work. I think it's the first time we have anyone from legal, صح?
No, second time.
No? Second?
Also.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Sorry. Goldfish memory. But yeah, um, I wanted to give an intro about the topic, but mashallah, Hazem has it all for us. So he said, no, leave that for me. I'll take them through it. So please welcome Hazem to the stage.
Hamza.
Hamza, sorry. Hamza, it's all because of you.
It's
It's all
fine.
because of you. Hamza to the stage.
Thank you, Zainal. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, good morning, everyone. So, the first time I was asked to speak at Minds at Work, I came up with a topic, and that was an introduction to the law of tort. That was heavily frowned upon by my colleagues and say, well, get to speak on something rather more interesting. So, here's an attempt. Collecting art, an investment with financial upside. So, what is really art? Now, to begin with, art comes in a variety of shapes and form. It could be a painting, it could be a sculpture, it could be tapestry, it could be, in a variety of forms it comes, and it depends on what you really like and want to pick. It could be an antique piece like an urn or a bust, for example. So I like, as a hobby, to collect art wherever I go, and that's what I do, and I'm going to speak on that. In short, my talk will cover three areas: personal perspective of investing in art, institutional perspective, why do institutions invest in art, and then lastly, which is rather more relevant to what we do at GFH, collective investment perspective. So when you buy art, of course, you bring the art piece to your house, and it serves as a reflective item to show who you really are. It brings some personalized touch to your house. It's not only decorative, but really tells who you are. So it's reflective of your personality. As regards paintings, people say it's invisible money on canvas, which is true, because if bought sensibly, the value does go up, and you do making a gain in terms of the value of the art piece. So now I'm going to talk and take you through some of my collection of art. It's not very massive, but these are some of the masterpieces I've collected over time. This is a painting that I recently bought. It is entitled Positive Thoughts Produce Positive Relations. Now, as you can see in the painting, you would see Adam and Eve with an apple in between. Now, the apple is indicative of positive thoughts between the two characters, and which is what is going to produce positive relations. Positive relations. Now, one would wonder, where is that positive relation element? So you see keys on this side of the painting, which are keys to the treasure trove that the subjects sit on. So that is what is showing that positive thoughts are producing positive relations, and the positivity is reflected by keys to the trove. And that's what creates a beautiful link between the two characters, and that is what takes them ahead, leaving behind the evil eye, which is reflected on this side of the painting. So you see, every art has a story which you must connect with before you get down to paying for it. This is another painting that I got commissioned in 2019. It's entitled, it's from a series of an artist. It's called The Wood Nymphs. Now, in Greek mythology, nymphs are spirits which are associated with nature. They usually inhabit a tree or are usually found in forests. So here the artist actually is depicting a Himalayan folklore that these wood nymphs are so beautiful that an onlooker is generally blinded by their beauty. And therefore, the artist paints them rather blurry on purpose. This is another painting by the same artist from his series called The Divided Self. Now, this provides an introspective look into a person's outlook on life through different stages of his life. So the artist typically paints 5 of those faces in the painting, but claims that over time one may discover additional faces. So far, I've discovered only one, but in the painting, when you see it in front, it's a huge piece, 7 by 6 feet. You will be able to maybe see more over time. So that's the hope. That's the exciting element of the painting, which drew me to it. This is another painting that I own, and the title is Malang. Now, Malangs are devotees of Sufi saints. They are usually found in a drug-induced state of intoxication outside shrines in Pakistan. The artist brings a variety of colors into it to depict the different layers of character that these Malangs hold. This painting I've just chosen to display on the basis that it's a different medium altogether. It's charcoal on canvas. Now, these paintings require much more protection because this is not typically an oil on canvas or acrylics on canvas, and therefore needs a layer on the top in terms of a glass. It could be reflective glass or non-reflective, ideally non-reflective, to protect such paintings. This is another painting that I have. This is landscape from the very enriched Mughal era. And it's painted in a very abstract fashion, which is what drew me to it, and the color, of course, palette. This is another painting from Mansoor Rahi, a Pakistani celebrated artist who's very well known for his cubism work. So you can see a male figure here, but each part of the anatomy is very well captured in cubes. This is Mughlai miniature art. So these are very small, tiny paintings, literally this big in size. These ones are 9 by 6 inches. It's the very intricate nature of this work which claims its fame. So these paintings are so small and so intricate that oftentimes you would just need a strand of hair to paint them, literally a strand instead of a brush to basically paint these paintings. So that's what makes these paintings special. This is from Persian origin, antique pieces at least 50 years old, and you can see some Persian scriptures on top. And likewise, I also collected some Japanese antique pieces from the Meiji period, and getting them shipped to Bahrain was quite heavy on the pocket, especially the insurance element. Venetian masks. Now, Venetian masks have rich history dating back to 13th century, and they're the symbol of freedom and social commentary. So this is another sort of, as I said, it comes in various forms and shapes. So this is a piece of art that I have collected. These masks are actually called colombinas. Then from Florence, which is very well known for their Florentine mosaic, is this another piece of art. These are basically semi-precious stones put together to form the cupola in Florence. I'm going to play a quick video to show you how many people connect to art in a very different way.
Did you know that there are paintings that look like just colors, but it made people cry? One of the artists who achieved that was Mark Rothko. At first glance, his paintings seem very simple, large rectangles of color floating on the background. But when people stand in front of them, some feel sadness, peace, fear, or something they just can't expect. Mark Rothko was a painter born in 1903. He didn't want people to dispute his paintings. He wanted them to feel them. He believed art should speak to the soul, to paint, to joy, and to the deepest emotions, even if it was just with blocks of color.
Okay. So really, what do you need to know is how to buy art. I'm going to briefly touch upon what are the various features of this purchase that you should be aware of. Number one, personal appeal. So the story behind a painting and the color palette, that must appeal to you because that's something that should connect you with the artwork. It must resonate with your personality and should be in sync with the aesthetics of your house in general. Remember that this piece will stay with you for a very long time, so you must truly appreciate an artwork. Secondly, the authenticity. This is very important. You don't want to buy a piece of art later to find out that that's a copy of the original work. It's very embarrassing at times. I mean, I have been to people's houses and I could tell myself that some of their paintings weren't the originals. The signatures weren't the same. The paint strokes that you would find typical of that artist's work wouldn't be there, and that's kind of embarrassing. So make sure that you are getting the artwork which is authentic. To do that, the best way to achieve that is to directly approach the artist or get the work even commissioned by him. Now, these days, artists are very approachable. You can contact them through their Instagram account or Facebook or what have you. If the artist is not approachable or is not available, then of course your second best source of the artwork would be going to an art gallery. But when going to an art gallery, you must make sure it's reputable, it's big, it has deep pockets. In fact, if you were to bring claim against the art gallery, it's known, it's big, and it has some sort of insurance covering it. Without going into much legality, the art piece must be supported or backed by a certificate of authenticity that's issued by the art gallery. It's usually signed by the gallery owner, and it's even better if the artist himself signs the certificate. These days I'm seeing that art galleries are also issuing a picture with the artist holding that painting to further authenticate the authenticity. Then, of course, there's an element of confusion where the artist is no longer available. He has passed away, is deceased, and there's no way to verify it directly from the artist that the painting is true. And in that case, you need to go to the curators. Now, these are experienced people with a lot of experience in art and these paintings. So they will actually run an analysis of the painting and then tell you exactly if that is the true creation of the same artist that it claims to be. Price. A lot of factors come into play. So how acclaimed is the artist is one element. And any guesses, how does an artist become famous? Any ideas? Any clues? Okay, well, it's the exhibitions that they hold that makes them famous. So typically you would see, and the exhibitions would be held in the country where the artist lives. And then the next stop is Dubai. And then the next stop is London, and then Paris, and so on and so forth. The number of exhibitions the artist will hold will determine how famous and world-renowned he is, and that will determine the price. Age of the art piece. The older the art piece gets, the more pricier it becomes. Volume of the artwork is another factor. So for example, if an artist is producing paintings in bulk, there goes the value down because the supply is rather limited, demand is rather limited, and you have abundance of supply, which is what is going to impact its price negatively. Rarity of the piece. So basically, if an artist has produced an artwork which is unusual from his usual style of painting, and that is going to go up in price as well because it's a rare piece by the same artist. Age and health condition of the artist. So of course, the older he gets, if he's going to die soon, God forbid, and the prices will go up, of course, because then there's a limited supply of his work and the demand is still the same. Then the nature of work and its acceptance in certain geographic regions. So, for example, a figurative painting which depicts a nude figure wouldn't sell very well in, let's say, Islamic countries. But you take it to the West and the prices are, skyrocketed. So it really depends where you're buying the artwork from in that sense. So with that, we turn to our next topic, institutional perspective. Now, art has always been a symbol of affluence. Not only individuals are drawn to art, but you would find financial institutions also now heavily investing into art. And one wonders why. So here's the institutional perspective. So, well, it diversifies their proprietary portfolio. Now, collection of art is now widely known and seen as a new class of asset. So it really diversifies your proprietary portfolio. It enhances your corporate environment. Of course, who wouldn't like walking down the corridors with works surrounding them of celebrated artists? Then it expresses cultural responsibility. Of course, you're preserving the culture, heritage, and art and their work, and the artist's work in that sense. So that, of course, is your contribution towards honoring your cultural responsibility. Supporting emerging artists, that's, of course, some of the aims of your corporate social responsibility, which, of course, in turn fosters innovation. So those are some of the perspective with which major financial institutions invest into art. So they say art is a safe haven. It does not crash like crypto, and it is not traceable like stocks. Price is equal to perception, so the price really depends on what is someone willing to pay for that piece of art, which means that the value can be inflated behind closed doors. Now, in some jurisdictions, this means a lot. We'll come to that. Here's a trick. Buy a painting for 2 million, put it up for auction to enhance its value to, let's say, 10 million, donate it to a museum for 10 million, and get massive tax deductions in some jurisdictions and build a reputation as well. So it really helps a corporation of that big a nature to put up their case that, well, we are out there in the market and really serving a very social cause. A billionaire's move is therefore gifting an art piece to a museum, influencing board decisions, getting your media praises, plus it gives you a political cover. With that, we will see what major financial institutions are holding. So JP Morgan Chase are currently holding over 30,000 works of art, including the Reflections on Crash by Roy Lichtenstein. This is valued at 8 million in 2001. So imagine the value must have gone up by now. Deutsche Bank owns over 60,000 pieces of art, which are estimated to be around 60 million euros. The former CEO of Deutsche Bank once said, a company without a collection is like a person without a memory. The collection includes The Wall by Gerhard Richter, a monumental work measuring over 18 meters in length. So this painting that you're seeing is actually 18 meters long. Credit Suisse owns over 5,000 works of art, which includes Monet's Le Pont Japonais and Van Gogh's Les Oliviers. And pardon my French, sorry. So, collective investment perspective. Of course, all of you must have guessed by now, we're going to talk about an art fund. So, art fund is basically an investment vehicle which pulls in resources from the investor with an aim to invest into art, to draw then returns from value appreciation, sale, and loaning of artwork. So loaning of artwork is a very typical jargon used in the art world, which means that you give it to a museum and in return you draw some sort of rentals for that purpose. Art funds are nothing unusual. They're not very novel. In fact, the first art fund, Le Pou de l'Or, was set up in 1904 in Paris with only 13 investors who contributed literally 250 francs per annum to purchase contemporary art. Now, a typical investment strategy of an art fund could be just hold, buy and hold strategy, which is a very passive strategy in respect of an art fund. Restoration of artwork is another strategy. So just to give you an example, there's a lot of room for investment into restoration of artwork. The Louvre in Paris, the artwork that you see there literally is only 7 to 10% of the actual art collection that they hold in their warehouses yet to be restored. So there's a lot of room for investing into restoration of artwork. And when I say restoration of artwork, I mean the antique artwork that is yet to be restored. Geographic arbitrage, buying it in one country, selling it where it's valued more. Showcasing strategy. This has two elements. Now, showcasing strategy would be loaning an artwork to a museum, which will draw some returns in terms of the rentals that you would receive from the artwork. At the same time, the value goes up because of the public exhibition. So this is a kind of double-edged sword, if you want to call it. Leveraging strategy is where you are going to create an encumbrance over these pieces of art in order to secure a finance facility, which is taken usually from a specialist banks and lenders. Performance of some of the popular art funds would give you an ROI of 8 to 14% annually, IRR of about 9 to 25%, and an MOM which would range from 1.3 to 2 times multiple. And here's the bit that we are all most interested in. The fee structure. The management fee is typically between 1.5 to 2%, and the performance fee is typically ranging between 15 to 20%. So unless you have any further questions, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Have you sold any art?
No, I haven't. I'm yet in the phase of collecting art against my wife's wishes, with whom I tend to reason it more in the sense that, well, it's an investment, so let me collect. Yeah, why not? I mean, it's definitely an asset that can be sold in bad times, of course. I do very rarely. So now I don't get the time to paint, but I used to. I have only two to three paintings that I have done in recent times. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Savannah.